Good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to our session this evening. Anita, the next slide, please. All right. So we have begun, and then for an enhanced audio quality, we definitely recommend you to use headphones. Please mute your audio and turn off your video for a better viewer experience. And those who are attending via this Zoom platform, please type your questions in the chat box. And our YouTube viewers, please type your questions on the comments box. We will definitely answer all your questions at the end of the session, because we do have a question and answer session, which is going to be the highlight of this program itself. Please take time to check out the links and the resources that are posted on the chat box, and definitely feel free to download them and save them as well. Moving on, Anita, next slide, please. Definitely, I welcome you all to Education USA India Prepathon 2022, and many congratulations on your admissions, and wishing you lots of success as you get ready to begin your new journey. Next slide. And our topic for today is Beyond the Classroom, Socio-Cultural Environment and Student Life at US Universities. And after today's session, we do have two more topics in this Prepathon 2022 series, as it is being displayed on the screen for you to register and attend. Today's session is designed to be an interesting panel discussion, and we have a recent graduate, a current undergraduate student, along with a US university representative, awaiting to share their experiences and provide you with valuable tips. So before we get on with the session, here's a little bit about Education USA. The next slide. Yes. Education USA is the only official source on US higher education, and it is a program that is funded by the Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs of the US Department of State. And this program is a global network of over 400 plus centers in more than 170 countries. And in India, there are 8 Education USA centers in 7 cities, and with 4 host organizations. So USIEF, that is US India Educational Foundation, is one of the host organizations that is hosting 5 Education USA centers, namely at these cities: Chennai, Hyderabad, Kolkata, Mumbai, and New Delhi. And this USIEF, that is US India Educational Foundation, is a binational entity that manages the Fulbright fellowships in India, while our Bengaluru center is managed by Yashna Trust, which is us, and our Ahmedabad center is managed by Indo-American Educational Society, IAES, and the newest Hyderabad center is managed by Y-Axis Foundation. Now, as a part of education, we can move on to the next slide. As a part of Education USA's structured guided advising model, your 5 steps to US study, this series of US University Prepathon comes in within step number 4. And this is aimed to help students prepare for their new experiences and to develop relevant skills to adjust to new challenges as they begin their journey as students at different US universities. Next slide. We from Education USA, again, your official source on US higher education, would like you students to stay connected with us. You can stay connected with us via you can join as current students, or even as alumni in sessions led by current students and sessions led by alumni as well. These sessions can be alumni fairs, panel discussions, or even during the International Education Week. So feel free to share your hashtag #MyEduSA story to be highlighted on our social media pages, or write an article for Education USA on your hashtag study in the USA experience, or simply join us on an Instagram takeover. Of course, you can follow us on our different social media pages. Just type at Education USA India, and you will find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Moving on to the next slide. Here's a quick view of the 8 Education USA centers in India. Please do take a screenshot of this and you can pass it on to someone who is in need of our guidance and mentorship, or you can keep it for your future reference to reach out to us for anything. Now, next slide is a little bit on the topic, beyond the classroom, socio-cultural environment and student life at US universities. And moving on to the next slide, we have, with us these eminent panelists. I would like to welcome Julie Loveless, Srinidhi Bhupati, and Vishaka Thakur-Dwarkar. I am Ramya Ashok, and with me this evening is Anita Bose Natarajan. We are both advisors at Yashna Trust Education USA Bangalore, and we are your moderators for this evening as well. So now a little bit about our presenters. Julie Loveless is the Senior Associate Director of Admissions, Coordinator of International Student Recruitment in the Office of Undergraduate Admissions at Worcester Polytechnic Institute. A very warm welcome, Julie. It is wonderful to have you back. Next is Srinidhi Bhupati, an Education USA Bangalore alumna. She is a sophomore at University of Southern California doing her Bachelor's of Arts, specializing in journalism. Srinidhi, we are also very happy to have you here. And we have another Education USA Bangalore alumna, Vishaka Thakur-Dwarkar, currently working as software engineer at Usher Inc. and is a Texas A&M alumna. A very, very warm welcome, Vishaka. On that happy memory-filled note, I welcome Julie to take over this program.
Thank you so much. Let me share my screen. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I love working with Education USA India, and I want to congratulate all of the attendees on getting accepted to university in the United States and making the decision to go to university in the United States. One of my favorite parts about studying in the United States was all of the stuff that you could do outside the classroom. So this is a perfect presentation for me. I'm going to share a lot about what happens outside the classroom at my university, which is Worcester Polytechnic Institute, located in Worcester, Massachusetts. But it is probably pretty similar at almost every university that exists in the United States. So I hope this is helpful as you start to get ready for your time in the US. So first, I wanted to start with the basics on how to get involved on campus. There are so many clubs and activities at every university, but sometimes it's hard to know where to start. So most universities will provide a student activities fair. Maybe it's going to be part of your orientation. Maybe it's going to happen in the first week of classes. It will happen very early on in your experience at your university. And a student activities fair is exactly what it sounds like. All of the clubs on campus set up a table. They share with prospective members of their clubs a little bit about what they do, and they encourage students to sign up and get involved. So that's probably at WPI the #1 way that students learn about different clubs and activities. Of course, there's always your university website. Wherever you're going to attend, just Google the name of the university plus clubs, and that will take you to the page that will probably list all of the clubs and organizations, as well as any email addresses if you're interested in joining. And you could look at that now before you ever even go to your university, just to kind of see what's out there. Definitely follow your university on social media. They often promote different clubs and events that are happening on campus. And then each individual club will probably also have its own social media page. I think that we sometimes get overwhelmed with digital announcements. So there's also a lot of just announcements on campus via posters on campus. Sometimes students take chalk and they write on the sidewalks or on the ground about different clubs and events that are happening. So use your eyes as you walk around your campus, and you'll find a lot to get involved in. Every university has some sort of communication platform. You may have already started using it, but these are things like Canva or Banner or Workday. And a lot of times, or Blackboard is a big one. A lot of times these communication platforms will also share news about clubs and events happening on campus. Ask your friends and your roommates what they're interested in getting involved with. Maybe go to a club meeting with one of them and see if it's something that you're interested in. And then just by going to events on campus, most events are sponsored by different clubs on campus. So that's a great way to get to know a little bit more about different clubs that are happening and the types of events that they do. And you can decide which ones you might want to get involved in. I also wanted to talk about the types of clubs on campus. There is no way that I could tell you every single club because I know at our university, which is kind of a small university, we have over 250 clubs. So instead, what I'm sharing with you is some of the types of clubs that you can get involved in. So of course, you're going to college for academics, but there are also academic clubs. So there are things like the Society of Women Engineers or the Club of Computer Scientists. And so there's different types of academic clubs that will often include alumni and ways to get connected to professional opportunities. There are community service clubs, all kinds of community service that you want to do, whether you want to stay on campus or work in the community that you're living in, or whether you want to travel and do some community service farther away. Lots of music and theater clubs at universities. Maybe you're choosing to major in music and theater, and then you'll take classes in those areas. But maybe you just like music and theater, and that's something you're passionate about. So you want to join the orchestra or the marching band or act in a play one semester. There's tons of different musical and theater clubs. There's a lot of cultural clubs, and I know at WPI, a lot of our international students participate in some of the cultural clubs, like the Vietnamese Student Association or the International Student Council. And I'll talk a little bit more about some of those later in the presentation. There's also sports, right? Sports are really popular in the United States. There's lots of different levels of sports that you can compete in at universities. There's varsity sports, which are very competitive, and it can be hard to join that team unless you're really, really talented. There's club sports, which are a little more casual, where you would compete against other universities nearby. And then there's intramural sports, which are just sports that you do for fun with your friends, with some light competition against other students at the same university. Greek life is really popular in the United States. You may have seen it in the movies. Greek life means fraternities and sororities. So groups of men and groups of women who choose to live together. They do a lot of social events on campus, and they also raise a lot of money for charity. There's student government. And then there's a lot of random clubs. I know every university has their own eclectic clubs. At WPI, we have two kinds of cheese clubs, one for eating cheese and one for selling cheese. And we have a lock-picking club. So there's a lot of really fun things that you may never have expected. I wanted to just show you some photos. I'm going to go through these slides fairly quickly, but I wanted to be able to show you some photos of what clubs and organizations, what types of events they might do on college campuses. So at WPI, we have a lot of international students. We have very active cultural clubs, and I grabbed a couple of photos of some of the events that they've put on recently in the past few years. So of course we have an active South Asian Student Association, and they do a Diwali festival every year. And so these are some photos. There's always like a photo opportunity as well as a lot of dancing. These are some of our Greek students, part of our Hellenic Student Association, doing a Greek dance together, and really getting different members of the community involved. This is our African drumming group. You don't have to be from Africa to join the drumming group. It's a really diverse group, and they do a lot of musical performances using traditional African drums throughout the year. Again, another Indian dance group at WPI. These students are performing as part of our International Student Dinner, which we do every fall, where we eat this big meal with food from all over the world, and then we watch performances from different clubs and organizations. This is our Brazilian Student Association performing at that same dinner. They're very active on campus, and every spring they do a carnival, which is a traditional Brazilian festival. Our International Student Council at WPI is really proud of their Midnight Breakfast series. This is just a fun event to go to if you need a little late night snack. They don't actually happen at midnight, but they happen usually at 8 or 9 o'clock at night, where different clubs and organizations will cook food that represent their country, and students from all over campus will come and join those midnight breakfasts to be able to sample food from different places. There's also going to be a lot of campus events and traditions that are happening at your universities. So I encourage you to get involved in those. This is our mascot, Gompy the goat. He's really cute, and we celebrate his birthday every year. So there he is having a cupcake to celebrate his birthday, but the whole campus kind of comes together, and it's just an excuse really to eat cake and have fun. We do some other traditions every year. These events come back and back. Nutella Fest is, I feel like these are all food-based, but Nutella Fest is a event that happens every final exam period, where there's just a lot of Nutella and sweets that you can come have to de-stress, take a break from studying for finals. And then our Black Student Union puts on a fashion show every year as well. So really interesting chance to see some new fashion ideas. And from a university that focuses on STEM, I think this really shows you how diverse our student population is, because they're not just doing all STEM all the time. They're really mixing it up and doing different cultural and artistic events. Our Vietnamese Student Association puts on a Lunar New Year celebration every year when that holiday occurs, and they do some traditional lion dances and things like that. Every fall, we do a tug of war, usually one class versus another class. Each side takes a piece of rope and they try to beat the other side. So that's a fun tradition outside, beautiful weather in the fall. We do a Valentine's Day dance every year, so a chance to come to one of our big spaces on campus and just kind of get together socially and celebrate the Valentine's Day holiday. This is my favorite slide in the whole presentation. I love this event, this tradition at WPI. Two of our Greek organizations, one fraternity and one sorority, they take out this teeter-totter and they spend 1 week nonstop 24/7 on the teeter-totter, raising money for charities that their groups are associated with. Obviously, it's not the same person all week long. They take, I think it's a 2-hour shift, but 2 a.m., they're out there. Rain, they're out there. Cold, they're out there. So it's really an impressive thing to see at WPI, but a really nice tradition. They raise a ton of money for the charities that are associated to their organizations. There's also off-campus events that are sponsored by different clubs and activities. So we're in Massachusetts, we're close to some mountains. Every year we do a skiing and snowboarding trip. We also do a big shopping trip to some of the outlets nearby, and different clubs and organizations will sponsor those. So you can either help organize it or you can just attend it. But it's a nice way to get off campus and see something a little bit different. I also think it's really important to know that you're all going to college in a place. Some of you are going to go to college in a big city. Some of you are going to go to college in a small town. And some of you are going to go to college somewhere in the middle. But I think it is really important not to spend all your time on campus. I would love to encourage you to explore public places like parks, museums, all of these different places that are nearby your campus. Definitely visit local businesses. Near every college, there are some local businesses, right? Because college students like coffee, they like to go out to eat, they like to go shopping. And so there's always a little, sometimes it's small, 2 or 3 shops, sometimes it's huge, a whole area, but really explore the local businesses nearby. Look at transportation options. I know where we're located, it's a small city, but there's a train between Worcester and Boston 20 times a day. So our students go into Boston all the time. And there's also a city bus that runs around the city if you want to visit friends who are at other colleges. And then if you are in one of those college cities or a city that has more than one university, definitely go to events at those other college campuses to meet other people and kind of get involved. The last slide I'll share with you is really far off campus opportunities. If your university offers the chance to do a study abroad program or an experience overseas, I really encourage it. I know you all are going overseas to go to university, but I think that taking a semester or a quarter to do a study abroad experience can really even open your mind farther and get you thinking about other cultures besides your Indian heritage as well as your American experience, and then maybe somewhere else like South America or Europe or Asia or Africa. So I definitely encourage those and talk to your colleges about the scholarship opportunities. So that's my last slide. I left my email up there. If you want more information about WPI, definitely let me know, but I will turn it over to the next speaker and we'll move on with the presentation.
Thank you, Julie. That was a wonderful presentation. Next, we have Srinidhi Bhupati, who will be taking over the session. Come on, Srinidhi.
Hi, just give me a minute until I figure out some camera stuff. I'm so sorry.
No problem. So once again, for those of you who have just joined, a little bit about Srinidhi. Srinidhi is an Education USA Bangalore alumna, and she's a sophomore at University of Southern California, doing her Bachelor's of Arts, specializing in journalism. So yeah. That's Srinidhi for you.
Yeah. Like Ramya said, I'm a sophomore at USC, and I'm majoring in journalism, planning on maybe minoring in like screenwriting or linguistics. We're going to see how that goes in like the next 2 years. Still have some time to figure that out, luckily. But yeah, so essentially I'm the batch of 2024. So I joined college quite mid-pandemic, like my entire first year was online. I didn't really have like the most traditional college experience in any way of sorts. First of all, I was a spring admit. So USC does a thing where they accept a few students later instead of like the first fall semester, they accept them into the first spring semester. So when I received like the admissions decision in April of 2020, I was like, oh, this is great. By the time January rolls around, COVID will definitely be gone. We're going to be fine. This is actually working out in my favor. And I did my entire fall semester at like a community college and just made sure that the credits would transfer over just so I'd get some like general education requirements out of the way. But then my first spring semester was also completely online. So when I went last year, it was like my first year on campus. It felt like my first year of college, even though it was my second year of academic learning. That's just a little bit of background to, I guess, get you into my mental state of like how I was feeling about socializing and getting out there and trying new stuff. So some of the stuff that I did outside of academics was clubs. And the three clubs that I found were all at like the involvement fair. The involvement fair, because our university is like a bigger university, it happened over the span of like 3 to 4 days for like hours each day. And I just went every single day and like try to find things that I liked, whether they were, like Julie mentioned, cultural or academic based, or even like the eclectic ones. I know we have like an escape room club and a club solely devoted to like eating bagels and making coffee or something like that. So the clubs I ended up joining were a tour organization and a songwriters forum and a literary magazine. So just going into a little more detail about like the three organizations. Typically, if you go to a college campus, you'll find, especially in like the spring break season, like spring semester, you'll find a lot of high school kids taking college campus tours just so that they can get a feel of the campus and get to know if that this is the right place for them before they like accept any decisions, etc., etc. But what my organization does is give tours to like elementary school children. So just to like get them a little bit hyped about college and say, hey, don't drop out, it's actually fun. So yeah, last year I was like volunteering with that organization, and this year I was actually able to like move up and get myself promoted, and now I have a job with that organization, which is so fun. My second organization, the Songwriters Forum, essentially it's one of those clubs where you just hang out with a bunch of other musicians and you like get to jam out with producers, with like student songwriters, with student instrumentalists, and like everyone gets together to make an album every single semester. So at the end of the semester, there's like an album launch party and like a listening party and stuff. And it's like such great fun. My third organization that I joined is the literary magazine. And this literary magazine was more cultural in the sense that it was completely run by Asian Pacific American, Desi American students for APIDA students. And we were really able to hone in on issues that impacted us and our communities in the broader lens of like being at an American institution. And it was great. Again, I guess none of my organizations were like super social in the sense that they weren't very like, hey, we're doing like this fun thing this weekend, let's go to like the beach or something. But I feel like I did meaningful work because I always had the opportunity to do like these fun social things outside of these three organizations. I was hanging around a lot at like the student centers, whether that be the Asian Pacific American Student Center or the LGBTQ plus student centers. These places just have like couches and mentors and a bunch of other students who identify within that same minority group. And you just get to bond over like board games and snacks that they have like in these student centers set up just for you. And it's really fun. Like it feels like you have like a space within this huge space of campus, like for yourself and for people like you. So yeah, I would feel like I was able to really make those meaningful social connections, not just within my like club organizations, but also outside of my club organizations in like the student centers. But apart from clubs, I also feel like I did something different in the sense that I took a fun class, kind of tied it in with academics. I was like, hey, I already have these three organizations that's happening. And like this spring semester, just the one that just passed, I think I could take like a maximum of 18 credits, and I'd only filled up 14 with like my requirements, whether that be like general education or like journalism major related classes. And I was like, hey, I have like a couple more units, maybe I can do something fun. And I took a hip hop class, like just for the heck of it. And it was like a 2-unit class, and it was like an intro to hip hop, very beginners, very basic thing. And I've never danced hip hop before, never danced any sort of like Western style, not contemporary, nothing. I actually did like 15 years of Bharatanatyam. So to move into like hip hop was a huge change for me. I remember my professor shouting like, loose booty, move those butts. And I was just not able to. But it was a fun thing. Like it became a very meaningful thing as the semester progressed, because it was a class I was taking like on Fridays. I think it was like the very last class of the week or something. And I remember some weeks that were just difficult, a lot of work, and I would be like, get through it. And on Friday, you'll have hip hop. And it really became this thing that I could like look forward to. And I got an A in that class as well. And it was super fun. And I made like so many good friends. I'm going to a concert with some of these friends like the next semester. So I'm really looking forward to like taking another like fun class, and not just looking at journalism major requirements or like general education stuff. So yeah, that was like clubs, that was like student life and classes. There's other fun stuff that you can do like in the city, like Julie was mentioning. Like, don't forget to explore the space that you're in. It's going to be a little bit difficult to kind of get used to like transportation and like figuring out which areas are safe and which areas are not, but you're gonna get the hang of it. I live in Los Angeles now, and it's a humongous city. It's like double the size of Bangalore, but it has half the population. And these were like some changes that I had to get used to. But it has beautiful, beautiful museums. I've been to like the Natural History Museum, the Museum of Contemporary Art. And as like a museum geek, this was like very exciting to me. It really meant a lot that I guess I could just like maybe the weekend comes and I could just hop on the metro for free and like ride to a museum and be like, hey, like this is so cool, and like an experience that I wouldn't be able to have anywhere else. Also, you get student discounts at so many places. Please use them. Student discounts at most museums, student discounts at some restaurants, student discounts when you buy like Apple products. Please use your student discounts. That was just something that came to my head anyway. Yeah, there's like fun stuff that you can do in the city that you're in, but there's also fun stuff that you can do on campus that kind of, I guess, bring the city to you. Because I was in LA and I'm looking to major in screenwriting, I was always on the lookout for like cool cinema related opportunities. And the creator of Squid Games, Hwang Dong-hyuk, he is actually an alumna of the University of Southern California. He did his master's there like early 2000s, if I remember correctly. And when he came in, he actually did not speak a word of English. And he was narrating to us like his experience of having gone through like a difficult college experience. But the fact that he was able to come back, visit his like alma mater, and then say something about the fact that he's created one of the biggest series like in the world, and we were just able to like talk with him, ask him questions about his college experience. I even got a photo with him. So things like that that kind of, I guess, bring the city to you also exist. And it was cool that I was able to take advantage of things like that. I'm just kind of thinking of what else. I didn't really put pressure on myself in the very first year to get a job or get an internship, because I realized that I was coming out from like a whole pandemic era, and I was moving into a space that had more lax mask mandates and everything than India, because India had just finished like the horrendous second wave and we were still being very cautious. But at the time that I moved to LA in like August, the second wave over there hadn't hit as badly as it had hit over here. And their mask mandates were a little more lax, but I felt like I couldn't make that step yet. And so considering all of these things, I try not to be as hard on myself as I might have possibly been if it wasn't a pandemic related issue. And I was like, you don't need to focus on getting a job or an internship right now. Just, I gave myself like what I called a settling year. But I was like, take time, find your space, find friends, find like clubs and organizations and things that you like. And then we can like focus on the jobs and internships and like career related goals a little bit later. And I even like took the help of like my academic advisors, my career centers and everything. And right now I have a job for the next year, which is cool. But I just want to make sure that everybody understands that you can take full advantage of the mental health resources provided to you, and keep open lines of communication between your professors and yourself, and just let them know that if you're going through a hard time, it's going to be a hard time, and you would like all the support that you can get, because 95% of the time they're going to give it to you because they understand it's been a couple of difficult years. Other fun stuff, I don't know. I'm just thinking of experiences like the Hwang Dong-hyuk meeting. I don't know if you guys know Alec Benjamin. He's like a singer-songwriter, again, another alumna of University of Southern California. So the Songwriters Forum that I'm a part of actually got Alec Benjamin in, and we got to speak to him about his creative processes about songwriting. We also saw, I think, Dominic Fike in concert at like the annual Spring Fest or something. And there's always going to be these events that your university is constantly holding. You just have to kind of keep yourself updated and say, hey, that's happening, I'm going to go to that. It's going to be difficult sometimes to be like, I guess, always on the lookout for social activities if you're not too much of a party person. But just follow like all of these clubs and organizations on Instagram. That's where I get the most information from. Everyone has like a very popping Instagram, and they go really hard with their marketing just so that they can reach as many students as possible, because most of these organizations are for the students to have a better life on campus. So take full advantage of that. Nothing else comes to mind immediately. I'm just going to think about, I guess, pieces of advice that incoming students could benefit from. Culture shocks are always going to be a thing. I didn't experience too much of it because, in a sense, I think we're desensitized to the American culture because so much of the media is American. It doesn't feel too shocking in that sense, I guess. But there's definitely going to be some things that could startle you or like take you a few minutes to adapt to. Be kind with yourself, I guess. Don't expect yourself to get used to things immediately. Don't expect yourself to be like, oh no, by this time in this semester, I was already supposed to have done, etc., etc., etc. If you're kind of going in with these many expectations and like harshness, I don't know, with yourself, just be a little easy and kind with yourself. That's about it. Yeah.
Great, Srinidhi. Thank you so much. That was wonderful. A lot of good points. So now I will hand over the session to Vishaka Thakur-Dwarkar. Vishaka, come on over.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here.
Great.
Congratulations, everyone. Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
No, Vishaka, a little bit about you. I want to tell students who have joined just now. So Vishaka Thakur-Dwarkar, an Education USA Bangalore alumna, is currently working as a software engineer in Usher Inc. and is a Texas A&M alumna as well. So Vishaka, over to you.
Thank you, Ramya. Hello, everyone, and congratulations for getting admits into great universities. So to tell about myself a little bit, I came in the US in fall 2019 and started with my master's in electrical engineering at Texas A&M University at the College Station campus. And although my focus was, my degree was in electrical engineering, my focus was towards software side. And I took my courses according to what my specialization I wanted to do in, which was a bit of image processing and machine learning. So every university has a course curriculum which requires some of the courses that are mandatory, and some of them are, the course curriculum is pretty flexible, where you can take some courses from different departments and not just from yours. So I was able to curate a set of courses which would enhance my degree requirements and my career prospects. Because graduate degree is very, I would say, fast-paced, because you have just 4 semesters, and yet you have to make it, take advantage of as much as you can while you're there. And well, along with that, I was fortunate to get an internship in summer of 2020, and then I moved on to getting a full-time job. So, talking about my experience of masters, it was my first semester was pre-COVID, which was pretty normal. As my expectations when we entered the master's life, we kind of expected to be challenging, but there are certain culture shocks and adjustments to be made, as Trinity was also telling about. And along with that, the first semester was pretty, I mean, the whole master's, I would say, was pretty wonderful. Um, I would say pre-COVID, it was a lot of in-person interactions. You get to meet brilliant students all over the world. Uh, the professors are extremely qualified and helpful and approachable. And also, you get to go into these events that are organized especially for the new incoming students, where you have the opportunity to get oriented with what kind of an environment you are at, the kind of university you're at, what kind of student organizations, or you can expect your master's life could be. So I would talk about some of the student organizations that were there at Texas A&M. So I mean, you can think of something, and there's a student organization for it if you're interested in some musical instrument, or if you are interested in some kind of art activity or dance, or any of the different culture groups. You don't need to be part of or from a specific cultural background to be a part of a student organization. You can just enter an organization, be a part, interact with everyone, and feel welcome. I was a part of a organization called DCIBs, where they invited all the Indian students or Asian students to be a part, and where everybody could interact with each other, have a little familiarity. When you enter a new country, there would be some challenges where you can face them, and just have a little familiar experience where we would have chai every Friday night, and have board games, and just interact with different people. You get to meet new students every time you go, and be a part of that organization. I was also a part of a data science and AI organization. That was something where students from different departments, they need not to be from engineering or a specific branch of engineering, but every other department came together and discussed about their interest in the field of data science and artificial intelligence. Also, the student organization was, they made certain groups, and they approached some professors where they could interact with them, get projects, and work on them apart from the course curriculum, which would only enhance your career prospects and build your profile. Another thing I would like to touch upon my outside class experience was being involved in campus jobs. So it's a different experience when you enter a university, where you can start working from the first semester on some kind of job on campus. It can be anywhere from assisting a professor in a lab, or being at a help desk in at your library, or the recreational centers or gyms, and even work at a food court. Get free food. That's an added benefit. And these things also sort of help you overall understanding where you are at, and gel with the people at the university. It's just a great experience altogether. Also, another outside class experience was attending sports events. Each university has so many different sports activities going on. They have different sports where people participate and represent their university. And even though you may not be part of the sport, but you can always go and cheer your fellow students when they're playing certain tournaments. And I went to the football games, but the basketball games. American football is a bit different than soccer, so it's a good new sport to watch and enjoy. So these were some experiences pre-COVID. It changed because from my second semester, that was spring of 2020, the rest of the 3 semesters were online because of COVID. It was, I would say I was on the front line where the whole system was changing from the normal in-person coursework, from everything being taken online. The coursework was online, all the assignments, exams, and projects and everything. It was taken online. It was the method of teaching changed, but it didn't affect the quality or the learning experience. That was important because everybody was trying to adapt to the new situation. And first thing I want to mention, any unforeseeable event happens, the university has your back, because when COVID hit, so to maintain our F1 visa status, we have to be enrolled as a full-time student on campus. But since COVID, because of the pandemic, everything shifted online and everybody was taking classes remotely. And the university was adaptive enough that they changed their structure from just in-person to hybrid to accommodate all the students and keep their visa status valid. And what else? I mean, the lack of in-person interactions was made up with Zoom collaborations, and everybody was, meet up on Zoom and collaborate and do projects. And, it was a good learning experience. Even professors and all the advisors and everybody put in extra efforts to, make you, feel normal about these changing, times. But everybody, like professors, also had some extra classes where they would interact with students to, if there were any doubts or questions, they would be there to help you. All the professors and staff at these universities are extremely helpful and approachable, and you can be open with them about your concerns and just interact with them. Well, I would touch upon a main thing that I experienced while going through masters. I mean, we are here for an overall learning experience along with getting an internship or a full-time job. During COVID, everybody was facing challenges, and there were times when you look forward to summer internships, and the year of 2020 was a time where the companies just canceled some of the positions. It became challenging to apply for jobs and attain certain positions or internships the way you wanted. But do not lose hope in these kind of situations, because there are ways that you can just prepare yourself and keep trying. That's the important thing here. So in terms of preparing for jobs and CPT and OPT, I would say the preparation starts from day one when you're in masters, because you have less time. You have to keep track of all of your courses and build your profile in certain way that you are ready for your internship and jobs. So I would say that gathering as much as information from seniors and professors and advisors was really helpful for me, because I was ready to understand which kind of courses to take that would be helpful for my internship and getting a full-time that would prepare me throughout my master's journey. So the main tool that will help in getting an internship is every university organizes career fair, which is something which you would experience as a main event when you enter the university. It's probably in the first semester and taken every semester. So a career fair is exactly what it sounds like, where representatives from different companies would come to your university and they would be there, presenting their company to you and telling about what kind of work they do. And you would be presenting yourself to the representatives of those companies. You will hand in your resume. You'll talk about yourself, tell about the background, experience of what kind of, if you have some work experience from India or any research experience or the kind of courses that we are taking. So we would go in and just talk to them, interact with them. There are times when we can also get an interview call from them right there, or maybe a day later, or it might not happen. So that's not nothing to be nothing to feel disheartened about. But the main thing is to build a network, build a connection with them, because the next step is to connect with them on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a very powerful tool for any student. I wouldn't say just international students, but everyone, because there you can reach out to people from different companies and recruiters, and try to interact with them, tell about your background and experience, and reach out to them about any positions that you might be interested in. And that was a little bit about how. So I would tell about my experience for my internship. As I was telling, it was a little challenging because of the less number of positions available in the summer of 2020. But for me personally, LinkedIn was a really helpful tool, because the main thing is to be consistent and keep going here, keep making efforts and connecting with people. And I did the same thing. I was always trying to reach out to recruiters and people from different companies. In the same way, I tried to reach out to someone from my the company where I was doing an internship from, and they offered me a chance to interview with them, and it turned out that I got the internship. So it's just about how consistent you are with your efforts. Well, with CPT and OPT, it's basically curricular practical training and optional practical training. You have to keep applying for the jobs. This experience is a little different than what we experience in India, because companies come to our campus and we appear for whatever set of exams or interviews they have for us. Here, it's about how you approach to a particular company. You have to research on what kind of companies are there for your specific field of study and keep applying on their website. Each company has their own website where they have listed all the positions that are available. And just go in and apply, fill in your information, send in your resume, and you may get an interview call with them. And that's how it works in the US, where you kind of reach to a certain point where you have an offer from a company for either an internship or a full-time job. And that was kind of my experience overall outside class, be it student organizations or on-campus jobs, or because of pandemic, since everything was remote, we were at our home studying and doing. It can be a little disheartening, but it was an amazing experience, because you get to learn different things. Even the career fairs were taken online during pandemic, so you do not miss out on any opportunity. You get to experience and put yourself out in the world as much as possible. And my advice for the new incoming students is, whatever I talk about, do not feel overwhelmed by that, because it can be a lot to take in. But it's a step. It's a stepwise approach towards your masters, because you have to take in everything, and then just be there, be patient with yourself, and be consistent with your efforts. It's good to plan and invest your time in planning, but be ready for changes and challenges and adapt to them and just enjoy the journey.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Vishaka. I mean, we have seen you as our advisees, both Srinidhi and Vishaka, and look at yourselves now, how well you have grown and what are the things that you're all doing. It makes us only proud. So it's amazing to see your growth and your maturity, and so much you are here. I mean, you're here to give information and advice to all of the students. Thank you so much. And I hand over the session to my colleague Anita Bose-Natarajan for a Q&A section now.
Thank you, Ramya. Good evening, everyone. Vishaka was actually the first person I thought of when we were planning this particular webinar, because I know our international students, it was a lot for them to be successful in the COVID climate, to be able to get a job, and very, very proud of our students, who've managed. On a lighter note, I actually did my undergrad and grad in the US. And like Julie, my favorite activity was always outside academics, so much so that I was president of SWE and IEEE for multiple years. And being president, a lot of benefits. First of all, I got to dictate free pizza at every meeting. So that's one of the benefits that, once you guys make your way to campus, you will be looking out for the free pizza sign. So being president, I made sure we had food at every single meeting. All right, so let's see. The first question is, what is the optimal number of clubs? And I'd like Srinidhi and Vishaka to take turns to answer. What's the number of optimal clubs we should be a part of at each semester or year so that we're not overwhelmed?
I can take the first part on this. I think it really depends on how much you're taking per semester academically. Some semesters you might go like 18 units, some semester you might be doing 14 units. It's really up to you to take the first few weeks to figure out how much you can balance on your plate academically before you sign up for your extracurriculars. And most involvement fairs happen like 3 or 4 weeks into the semester. So you will have your time to kind of settle in first and then choose other opportunities. I did 3 to 4 per semester and I was able to handle it. But obviously everyone is different, and don't feel like you have to do 4 every semester or anything like that.
Vishaka, how many clubs do you think for grad kids?
Well, there's not a specific number. It's like, as Srinidhi said, it was correct that first figure out what kind of courses you want to take, because first semester can be a little, you can need time to adjust on how the course curriculum is, the way a course is set up, because it's not just the way of teaching, but the kind of assignments and tests and projects that you have to work on during the first semester. And each university has a different set of requirements. Some universities do allow for the students to take just 2 courses in the first semester. For me, it was a compulsion of 3 courses, which are 3 credits each. And it can be a little difficult to manage everything, but it's not something that you cannot enjoy the student organizations along with it. But try to indulge in the organizations that really interest you, because you want to be committed to that. You want to enjoy and not let it to be a burden on yourself. So just enjoy and look through. Every university has a different website where they list out all the student organizations. So go through them, check out what they do and what interests you the most, and then be a part. Maybe start with one, and then on the later semesters, you can join another one. You get comfortable and you can manage.
Great. Okay, next question is for Julie. How does a student manage his or her ambition for education as an international student. Most international students, I'm sure you're familiar with this, most international students are encouraged by home country standards or family to score completely, like full grades or compensate for their opportunities. So what it is students saying that, there's a lot of pressure to perform well academically, but how do we balance it out?
Yeah, I think that is a great question. I think there is a big shift that happens from high school to college, where in high school you have a lot of classes or hours in the day where you have to be in school physically. But in college, you usually have less hours of class per day. I know at my university, students will typically take about 3 hours of class in any given day. So that leaves a lot of time where you're not in class. Of course, there is a homework component and it can be harder than you're used to. So I think it's always good to kind of take a couple of weeks or maybe even half of a semester to figure out what can you handle, how long are these courses taking you to do the homework, and really start to get involved from there. But I do think there is more free time than students typically have in high school. So I think that gives you some flexibility in getting involved. But I agree with the other two panelists. Don't get over involved right away. You might go to those activity fairs and sign up for 10 different clubs and you'll never be able to attend all of the meetings. So just attend when you have time, get to know other people, and eventually you'll kind of prioritize what clubs are available or what clubs are enjoyable to you and how can you do those clubs and get your work done.
And there is no compulsion to join a club outright, right? You can just go to 1 or 2 meetings, see if you like it. And if you don't, you don't go back, or just ad hoc volunteer and help out. So it's very flexible.
Of course. Yes. Good point.
Yes. One of the participants is asking if they can access previous recordings of webinars. Yes, they will all be available on Education USA India YouTube channel, because this series we are doing it on YouTube. So you just look for us on YouTube. I think give us another few weeks until mid-July when this whole session is over, and we will have a playlist for you on Education USA India YouTube page. Moving on to the next question. Have you, and this is for Srinidhi, have you experienced any barriers in getting accepted to a club because of your background or experience as an international student?
Great question. I, in some ways did, in some ways did not. I think in a sense, Greek life wasn't particularly appealing to me because of the fact that it was predominantly white, and it is a sort of commitment that you make only if you are financially capable of making the commitment, and I didn't think I was. So Greek life was something that I automatically kind of excluded myself from because of those barriers that existed. But that's not to say that the people belonging to these organizations are at all times like rude or discriminatory in any way. It's just that it wasn't a commitment I wasn't able to make, so I didn't make it. But other organizations like cultural organizations, social stuff and everything, not particularly in my sense, because I felt like I was drifting towards the organizations that really meant to me in terms of interest, and all the other people in that organization also had those similar interests, and we were able to bond anyway, and my background didn't prohibit me from enjoying those things that we did together. So yeah, that was good.
That's great. I mean, that's great to know. It's a good follow-up to the next question, which is for Vishaka. Most international students find themselves in their own friend circles with other international students because they find it difficult to connect with US students. Any tips to avoid this?
Well, that's a great question. And it is, it kind of becomes that way because you are in a new country, you experience a new culture around you. So it tends to get in a certain way that you fall back to the familiar cases, and you try to stay in a group where you know your friends. It's not like that, because you can always, everybody is friendly and approachable, and when you start with your courses, that's the first step. You meet new people, and with that you tend to divulge yourself into different events, uh, as these as I was talking about the cultural events or casual interaction events that are there for new students. You go into these events and student group organization where they tell about their organization, or just interact with them, get to know them. One of the good things that my university offered for to avoid this was they had a program where some of the American families would host international students at their home for dinners or lunches. And that sort of, so I was a part of that program, and I visited a family to their house, and they invited me for dinner. And that kind of, feels you welcome, and it eases your interaction with them. So they kept in touch with me. They used to ask me about, how am I doing because of, pandemic. It was a difficult situation for everyone. They even invited me for a Halloween and a Christmas party. That is something you make yourself involved in the American culture, and also get to know about different people. That's something, that helps to open up to other people. And um, even even with your friends, it's not a bad thing to hang out with your friends, but also to be involved, because you will be a part of an overall journey when you are coming for an undergraduate or a graduate degree. You want to experience every aspect of it. So it's good to experience everything, to come out as a different person when you're through with your degree.
And it's also very common for families during Thanksgiving to invite international students, especially if their child has an international student roommate, just to invite them for a few days for Thanksgiving. Everybody's nodding. This is a very normal American hospitality thing that is done. So don't be surprised, participants. The next question that I have is for Julie. Julie, when do you suggest incoming students participate in activities? First, second semester, or quarters? I think it's already been answered, but I'd like you to answer that.
Yeah, I think it is individual. At WPI, most of our students are studying STEM. They come in, they're taking these classes that are pretty intense math and science classes. You don't have to get involved right away. Those student activity fairs and events are usually repeated throughout the year. So I would say prioritize your academics, come in, make sure you're doing okay academically. Some students come to WPI and they are academically fine. They can totally join a club right away. Other students need to spend more time getting used to education in the US before they're able to join a club. So I would say it's individual, but there's never a closed door. Clubs are never going to tell you they don't want you to join or you're too late to join. So don't worry about it. Just join when it's right for you.
Great. Next question is both for Vishaka and Srinidhi. Assuming that meeting in person is largely restricted during snowfall, USC, no snowfall, let's say bad weather, how do students collaborate for volunteering, meetings, or organizing events? Vishaka, first one to go this time.
Yeah, sure. So talking about the weather conditions, so I studied in Texas. We didn't really have snowy conditions there, but except the one time where there was a snowstorm in the spring of 2021, but that was just for a week. So it didn't really, the weather conditions would not hinder you, because there are, so my university offered a shuttle service. There they call it a shuttle. Actually, it's a college bus where they would have these facilities. They would take you around campus and also outside the campus. So there's always opportunity for you to join in together, interact, and have participate in events or any organization.
Trinity.
Yeah, I did not have any snow. Cold weather was very manageable, and we had 3 rainy days in total, where all native Californian residents were like, "Oh my God, it's raining." So it wasn't weather related, but we were still in like a transitional hybrid period where a lot of our meetings were still taking place over Zoom. So I'm assuming if things shut down because of snowfall, you will be able to revert back to these online options that we have discovered and made full use of during the pandemic.
Yeah, thank you. And students are usually, not deterred by bad weather unless they are physically being blown away off campus. Students will find out that, students just love being on campus, doing all sorts of activities. So there will be a way to do stuff either virtually or in person. Next question for both of you also. Is it manageable to maintain an acceptable GPA and have a bustling extracurricular and social life on campus as well? So Srinidhi and then Vishaka.
Absolutely. It is very manageable. You just really have to hone in on your time management skills. Like Julie mentioned, the number of hours that you're doing classes for dramatically decrease when you go up to college. So you'll have a lot more free time on your plate. Obviously, a lot of it will go towards finishing up academic homework and things like that. But the free time also allows you to have that bustling extracurricular and social life. It's extremely manageable, but don't put pressure on yourself to have the perfect social life as well as the perfect GPA. And acceptable is more than okay.
Shaka.
Yeah, as Trinity mentioned, it is perfectly manageable. Well, in the case of graduate study, there are two options. One is where you are doing a research, and one where you are taking only the course and project specific courses. So I would say in both the cases, it is pretty manageable because even though there are the whole lot of coursework and assignments and your research going towards your thesis, there is still time, and you should give yourself time to enjoy these different extracurricular activities. Well, it kind of helps you to build up your time management skills and also to explore what kind of extracurriculars you're really interested in and devote your time towards it. So having a GPA, it would matter only when you're putting it in your resume and applying for jobs, but a respectable GPA would go ways. You do not need to have a perfect GPA. That's not a very hard requirement for getting a job. So yeah, enjoy both of them equally.
Yeah, what participants may not be aware of, and it's my absolute favorite thing about US campuses, is that a lot of facilities are open 24/7. You get in with your card or your phone or PIN code. So a lot of times you could be doing lab late in the night or in the mid-afternoon or Saturday nights or all of Sunday. So that gives you more than enough time to juggle your academics and extracurriculars. And if you have a job also on the side, like Srinidhi has got a multiple things going on at the same time, and then some more. Next question is for Julie. Do on-campus jobs contribute to fee waivers in any form of additional financial aid?
I would think of an on-campus job as a way to earn some spending money to help pay for entertainment or maybe books or some bills if you're living in an apartment or something like that. International students can work up to 20 hours per week on campus with their student visa. Most jobs, the salary will change kind of depending where you are. I think at WPI, most jobs are paid at $13 or $14 an hour. And so if you work 10 hours a week, that's a little bit of extra spending money. I don't think it's going to make a huge difference in paying your tuition, but I think it will help maybe with renting an apartment or going out to dinner with your friends or going to the movies or buying textbooks.
Okay, great. Next question also for you, Julie. What kind of challenges or culture shocks internationals could face, and how do they prepare themselves to acclimatize to the new environment? And is there any assistance from the student clubs or any university representatives, officials?
Yeah, so this is something that all universities are really aware of. We have students coming from all over the United States with different backgrounds and all over the world. So in your first week at university, you're going to be introduced to all of these different offices that can offer support. And that support varies. Most universities will have an international student services office. They know the stages of homesickness and can kind of prepare you for those that are coming. Every campus is going to have some sort of mental health counseling center. So if you are feeling sad or you're missing your family, that's not a small thing. And we want you to make an appointment and meet with a counselor and just talk about it so that they can help you with some strategies for managing your culture shock. I think one piece of advice they always give is to do one brave thing every day. And brave thing does not mean jumping out of an airplane. Brave thing means, eating with someone new at the dining hall, or going to a club meeting for a club you haven't been to, but going by yourself. And so by doing those little tiny new things, you're really going to get into the culture.
Great, thank you. Trinity, next question for you. Can students start up their own clubs?
Yes, they can. In my university, all you need is, I think, like 9 other people who want to be in this club, and like the advice or like the overseeing of one professor, and that's it. You can start your own club, regardless of what it could be. Like I mentioned, we have a bagel club, we have an escape room club. Whatever your interest is, if the club doesn't exist, you can definitely make it.
Yeah. And when we talk about clubs, you're talking hundreds of clubs that each campus offers. It's just not like a handful of them. So amazing array of choices. Next question is for Vishaka. Are there clubs related to co-curricular activities, or are they meant only for extracurricular or sports activities? So is there the academic side? You've answered this already. Is there the academic side, or is it just for recreation stuff?
Well, it's both. There are so many different clubs. As I was telling about, it can be, something that if you are interested in music or arts or dance, or it can be a curricular, co-curricular activity as well. As I was telling about, I was a part of the data science and AI group, where I also, participated in it to help build my profile even more, because that kind of gave me a way where I can talk to different professors of other departments, because professors are always approachable, but they are so busy with all the courses and their research work. But there are all such kind of student organizations where you can participate, and you can try and go to their meetings. See if it interests you. If somehow it is related to what you are passionate about, and just be a part of it. So student organizations are, as even Srinidhi was saying, there can be any student organization. One of it, if you're interested in chess, just go and play chess with your fellow students. So yeah, both co-curricular and extracurricular, both of them.
And the student version of the professional organizations, they bring in a lot of alumni who are, more than happy to explain what they're doing in industry. They're more than happy to tell you all about what they did for their undergrad and grad and how they got to where they're going. Sometimes there are tours even to their workplaces. So even the academic clubs are fun. It's not just study. The next question is for Srinidhi. Are Greek activities open to international students?
Yes, they are. There's no citizenship requirement for that. You just have to pay a certain amount every semester. But that's literally it. I think you have to go through an elaborate application process that's called Rush. But there isn't anything that prohibits international students from joining, no.
And they're also the Academic Honor Greek Society. So when a student says they're part of a Greek society, it's not necessarily the party kind, there's also the academic kind. So, discover what you're interested in, what you'd like to be a part of, how you can contribute. Vishaka, next question for you. How do I go about looking for a TA or RA position once I get to campus?
Good question. So for TA or RA positions, the first step would be talk to your advisor in your department. They are there to help you and tell you what positions for assistantships are open with different professors. And another best way is to approach the professor. Send them an email telling about your background and what kind of assistantship are you interested in. If they are doing some kind of research that interests you, talk to them about it, and just express your interest. And if there's a position open for the assistantship, they will be there to provide it to you. And so in my university, it was like the teaching and research assistantships were offered to the people who were in thesis option of the masters. For other students, it was more on the different on-campus opportunities. So I was as an assistant to a professor, but I was working as a grader, where I would grade assignments and tests for undergraduate students, the other courses that a professor was taking. So for this kind of assistantships, there is always an application form or a page where you can approach the advisors, and they would be able to provide these kind of forms and applications to you. And the second best way is to approach the professor.
Thank you. Srinidhi, second last question, it's for you. Does a student have to identify with the club in order to be accepted? For example, do I have to be an international student to be in the International Student Club, or is just anybody and everybody is welcome here?
Just a second.
Sure.
Yeah, so like 99% of the time, you do not have to identify with the club to be part of the club. You can always just go and see if it's something that interests you. Like Julie mentioned, the African drum club, I think. You do not have to be African to look into that and see if you're interested and maybe get involved in like the performances and things like that. 99% of the time, obviously, I'm sure there are some exceptions where they're like, no, it's like really meant only for this cultural group, which makes complete sense because there are some things where you're like, they want this to be a safe space for those particular people. But apart from that, no, I'm sure most places, most people, they're very welcoming.
Right. Last question for Julie. Students says, I heard sometimes students get free t-shirts when they sign up for clubs. Is that true?
College is all about the free stuff, whether it's free t-shirts, free pizza, free gift cards. Yes, all different clubs are going to have different ways to entice you into their clubs, and all clubs will have most clubs will have a budget. So if they want to use that money to make t-shirts for the club, they can. If they want to use that money to put on events, they can. So it's getting involved in a club teaches you a lot of skills about budgeting and managing money and time and planning events. So don't do it just for the free t-shirt, but yes, I promise you'll get many during your college experience.
Yes. All right. So before we say goodnight, I would like to thank Julie, Srinidhi, and Vishaka for their insightful presentations. I'm sure our participants will be mindful of what they have learned this evening as they make their way on campus. I'd also like to thank our behind-the-scenes EduSA advisors, Megha Yadav and Aparna Chandrasekharan, for all their help always. Know that we at Education USA India are excited for each and every one of our students as you begin your journey this fall. Thank you, our participants, for joining us this evening. Wishing you all the best and a very good night. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you,
And
everybody.
Good
Good
morning
night.
to Julie.
Yeah, you could
Have a
just
great day,
ask,
Julie.
you could just ask students to share their success stories. I've shared the link in the chat box.
Oh, yes, please. Thanks
Awesome.
for reminding me. Okay,
Thank you,
students,
Aparna.
please, share your success stories. The URL is given in the chat box. So just a little blurb and a picture. We are more than happy to find out more
Thank
about
you.
you and, have you inspire the next cycle of students who are looking to study in the US.
Thank
All right.
you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye. Thank you.